Welcome, everybody. This is John Paul Dutch, Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist number 250. Can't imagine that we were ever going to hit 250, but we did. It happens week after week after week. Glad that you're here. If you're new, check it out. If you're a longtime viewer, listener, person, excellent. Glad that you're back. Always hit that thumbs up, please, please, please. That helps. And subscribe if you want to get this every single week. We come up on YouTube on Fridays and also on our Facebook group, which is the Position to Win book group. And with me, as always, is the ever lovely Sandra. Cassandra is going to ask me the questions that you would be asking if you were there. But if you were sitting at her house, she'd go, "Who are you?" So anyway, Sandra.
Hello, how are you?
Good, a little whimsical today, but I figure why
There
not?
you
Let's have a
go.
little bit of fun. And I mean,
That's right.
you're wearing your, I don't know what snake you had to kill, but you've got your snake skin
That's right.
outfit,
That's right. Good to go. Good to go.
So there you go. All right. So what are we talking about today?
All right, so we're talking about technology navigation. So what do you mean by technology navigation?
If you watch how technology is exploding, you look at AI taking off, and every single day there's something new, and you have to learn another idea or another concept or something. It really gets to the point of where you're probably never going to learn it all. You're never going to sit down like we are kind of programmed from a very young age to learn. So what you have to do is kind of get comfortable with what I believe is navigation, and that is that we're sailing across this, yeah, digital ocean. We're out there in this virtual sea, and we're just kind of pushing our way along, and we're seeing what's going to happen. So I think that that has taken place, and we actually have probably less utilization, and we have more and more capability, but it seems like we have less utilization. I'm always surprised at how many things people don't know when they seem to be so simple. And I think the barrier is that there's no experimentation. Some people there are, but most people are not. So that's what I mean by navigation, is that we have to navigate, not think that we know it perfectly.
And is this a new circumstance?
I think that it's always been the case for those who were able to kind of adapt to technology, but there was always that joke, if you will, or that sense that if you were older, and you weren't quite sure of how to use this technology, you would be frozen, because oh my God, you could do it wrong and all of that. My favorite expression is people would say is, well, you really can't hurt the computer and do something wrong. They have never seen some of the employees that I've had. I have had people who work for me who they messed up their laptop so badly that, what did we do? We gave them a new laptop and said, don't touch these things, because you can get it wrong, very, very wrong. So I don't think this is new, but it's becoming more explosive, primarily because we have all of these various choices and options. If you just look at browsers, from Chrome to, in fact, I just heard a government outgoing message telling me that I needed to clear my Internet Explorer cache. Internet Explorer has been gone how long? Yikes, it's Microsoft Edge, folks. I mean, get there. But if you look at all of the just browsers alone, there's probably a dozen or 15 or 20. Now, some are based on other browsers, but it's just like that is the explosion. So if you're going to sit down and learn everything, never going to have time to actually use it.
And how have things changed?
Well, years ago, when there was the big giant debate going on, is that if you had a DOS computer, yes, I know some of you don't even know what DOS is. It's like, isn't that Dos Equis? No, no, no. It's DOS. DOS is not Dos Equis. It's a different, sometimes you needed a Dos Equis to deal with DOS, but that was a different issue. Well, what you had to do is you were on a very narrow, tight, this is what you could do. A menu would pop up, and it'd give you some choices, and you hit a button, and then you do something else. And people thought they were actually kind of using a computer, and maybe they're getting meaningful work done at the time, but that's all gone. So once we got to a graphical user interface, and that all became the norm and what's going on. Now you can still get under the hood, as it's called, and get to the metal and go out there and start putting things in and figuring out how to do it at command language. But for the most part, it all changed when we went to graphical user interface, which means that we're all sailing on that digital sea, looking at that paper moon.
And is training the problem?
Well, it's interesting because training has become more difficult. In fact, if you go and you watch videos, I see videos all the time, and somebody says, I'm going to show you the steps. Implicit in there is that actually we're going to leave a bunch of stuff out because they assume that you can navigate from this point to this point and kind of make all of this work because that's just the nature of where we're at today. And that's actually part of the, if you will, the squishiness, the ambiguity that exists in this whole concept of navigation. And if you don't get that right, if your head doesn't explode by this point in time, then what you'll understand is that you're just out there and you have to go and kind of see if this is going to work or that's going to work. And oftentimes it doesn't work, which makes people very frustrated. And in fact, they go, well, I can't do this. Or my favorite one is where somebody will sit there and they'll say, I didn't do anything, but look at what that, whether it's a phone, a tablet, laptop, smart TV, look at what it's doing. I didn't do anything. Well, it didn't do it on itself. I can tell you that. Now, some things you have to do by yourself. And one of those things is that if you're going to have a successful business, you have to go out there and figure out how to make this business work. And most of us make mistakes early on, which is why I went out and we wrote a book, my business partner and we wrote a book called Most Businesses Fail in the First 5 Minutes. It just takes 3 to 5 years to realize it, position to win. Now, this mistake really is made in the first 300 seconds. People will make a decision, they'll go in a direction, and they don't know where they're going. And it will take them a period of time to burn through their resources, their friends' resources, their relatives' resources, and get to this point of where it's just not going to work. So if you have any inkling that you're going to go do that, go check out our book. It's available physically at position2winbook.com, position2winbook.com, and you can have me sign it and say, hey, have a great life. Boom, and away we go. Also, you can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever books are sold. You can ask for a physical copy. And if you're a digital-minded person, if you are a person who reads electronic books, which I do more and more as my life goes on, is that you can also go and get it on the Kindle, Nook, and iBooks. Also, if you are wanting to understand how to do this, which is remote work for in a better way, we have a book written called Remote Work for a Better World, exclusively on the Amazon Kindle. And to pull it all together in an analog world, in a digital space, go pick up a nice mug, the Raging Verbalist mug, beautifully done on the inside. See, I've already gotten all my rage in here, and everything tastes a little bit better with a Raging Verbalist mug. And with that, what's our next step, Sandra?
All right, so where does navigation fit in?
So kind of navigation is this overarching thing where you say, look, I don't know exactly where I'm trying to get to, but I'm going to explore. And long before we had GPS and satellites and all of these things, you would set out and you would explore. And if you have that as a kind of as a mindset, if you start thinking about this, if you start working on this as a kind of an opening up, you'll find your life is a lot easier. This means that you lower your expectations that you're going to be able to knock it out the first time. So navigation fits in by saying, I'm confident that I will, through the stumble and bumble and fail method, find what I need to do and keep doing that. However, you have to continuously learn if you're going to get better at this.
And what is the solution?
Well, you got to overcome this sense of perfectionism. There's a lot of people who won't try something, or they'll find how to do something and they never ask themselves, maybe there's a faster, better way. I'll tell you, one of the most interesting things about navigation is that learning how to use keyboard commands. I mean, somebody wrote all of this code so you can do this quickly. And it doesn't matter which platform you're on. It doesn't matter if you're using a phone, doesn't matter if you're using a laptop, a tablet, or whatever it is. Learn how to use some shortcuts and make your life a little bit better. And that's a mindset. Again, that's a mindset of going out there and navigating to these things and figuring out how to make this stuff work much faster than otherwise. See, if you spend all of your time stumbling instead of navigating, instead of sailing, instead of going where you need to go, then you're going to be in trouble. When you sail, and I haven't sailed a lot, but I have been out on the water, out in the ocean and sailed. But when you actually sail, you are the wind is taking you. So you have to deal with that. And you never really go in a straight line. You're always tacking, tacking, tacking. Same kind of thing when you navigate. You're not going to go in a straight line unless you absolutely know what you need to do. And if you do, then you can knock it out. But for the most part, we're going to navigate to where we need to go.
So you have the mindset, what happens next?
Well, you have to come with this very simple statement. And that is, you are unconsciously incompetent when you go to use something. If I open up a program, if I open up a piece of code that I've never used before, and I say code, but it's software, and you now want to get a result, you want to make something work, you have to know that you are unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't have a clue of what it is. So now you have to start moving around, doing some things. Now I'm going to say this once, I'll say it 3 times. Save your work. Always have, if you're going to go and take a file and you're going to manipulate something, open up the file, make a copy of it, make the changes on the copy. So that way you can always go back to the original once you screw up the first one, because that's what you need to do. And that's kind of the, if you will, you want to overcome that, because technology, whenever you show up and pick up a piece of technology, you don't know, and there's no way that you could know. But if you have the right, as I call it, navigation mindset, you'll get to where you're going to go, and you're going to get some really good results, as long as you're willing to accept that you're unconsciously incompetent, and that's the reality of life.
And how do you use it if you're in sales, marketing, or an entrepreneur?
Let's say you're going to be doing a Zoom call. We're using Zoom right now to record and capture the Raging Verbalist. Now, because of that, there are like about, I don't know, several hundred settings. There's a lot of settings. And that means that you actually have to know enough of them to make sure that this thing works. If you don't do any kind of trial runs, if you don't do any experimentation ahead of time, and you don't have that take place, understand that you will stumble, fall, and drop off into the chasm, if you will. Better to go out there, if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, you're an entrepreneur, and you're going to have to present, test it, have it run, see if it works, see if it's going to go the right way. Nothing worse than trying to get something working and operational when, well, you're under the gun and under pressure. There's enough pressure in life as it is, but make sure that if you're going to become good at this, that you navigate, you learn how to make something work, and you find out and you go, wow, I wish I had known that before. Well, this is building in a step. So you are actually going to go through that mistake period and get through it. And it is simply called this: everything involving technology has a learning curve. And there are your expectations about how it will work, and there's the reality of how it really does work. And it doesn't mean it works perfectly every single time. It just means that you're going to get better at it over time. And my recommendation is learning to learn means you're going to learn to earn, and you're going to make more money and become more successful. And you can do that. The fastest way, in my opinion, is to not be very rudimentary about it, but in fact, navigate to where you want to go and to become better at what you're doing. So for myself, John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, and the ever lovely Sandra, this has been the Raging Verbalist number 250. We hope that you'll navigate to success and navigate to where you want to go, and give us some feedback, drop us a comment, and of course, come back for the next Raging Verbalist.